Austin Metropolitan Ministries, on whose behalf this show is brought to you. Austin Metropolitan Ministries, the topic of our show today on Austin Faith Dialogue. Stay with us.
This is Austin Faith Dialogue, a public affairs program discussing the important crossroad of religion in life, produced by Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KTBC TV. Austin Faith Dialogue highlights the interaction of the religious community with the social and cultural issues throughout our area. Now, today's edition of Austin Faith Dialogue.
Hello, I'm Richard Thompson, Communications Coordinator of Austin Metropolitan Ministries. And today our focus is on AMM, which has been the ecumenical witness in the metropolitan area since 1989. And we're marking Austin's Awareness Week as far as AMM is concerned with several of our folks here who represent the various program interests of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, including the president of the board, Frank Cooksey, and Kathy Reed, who is in charge or the coordinator of the international market, and Fred Lewis, who is the treasurer of the organization. And we'd like to welcome you all, and would like to first of all, Frank, have you, since I think maybe you've had some finger in this operation since the beginning, tell us how you got into it and why you're continuing to be involved.
Well, it wasn't quite at the beginning that I became involved, but very close to it. After I completed my term as mayor, they asked me to serve on the board as a at-large representative. And I began to work on the board and went through a period where I was chairman of a committee that dealt with race relations in Austin. Mm-hmm. And then I became vice president and then president of the board. Austin Metropolitan Ministries is an organization which is an interfaith organization composed of about 130 congregations in Austin. And we cooperate with each other in the community in two ways. First, we react to each other and talk to each other, and we try to discover who we are and appreciate each other for the contributions that each of us makes in the community as places of worship. The second thing that we do is that we cooperate on social programs and ministries within the community. There are some examples that I'll just briefly mention of that. One is a new ministry that we have, which is called the Interact Ministry, a ministry for AIDS people who have AIDS. Another ministry that we have is one which deals with first-time juvenile offenders in the Gardner Betts house, and we match volunteers with those first-time offenders and give them some mentoring and assistance as they begin their rehabilitation and hopefully help them be contributing members of society. So those are a couple of the things that we do. Hands-on housing, which is a long-time program, and some of the other things that we're going to be talking about here today.
So, but you distinguish two main kinds of activities. One is to bring the interfaith community together in worship and celebration, and then you also say social ministries that they share in.
Right.
Okay. One of the programs, Kathy, is this International Holiday Market, and last year we had you on for the whole time just to feature that, but update us as to what's going to happen this year.
Well, the International Holiday Market this year is going to be celebrated November 22nd, 23rd, and we're going to be out at St. Matthew's Episcopal Church on Mesa Drive. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to think about what was unique about this year's holiday market, and I think one of the aspects that's going to be unique this year is that we're including some local Austin vendors in our market. We always get phone calls from people who want to set up craft booths, and they don't quite always understand that what we do at the holiday market is we sell goods that are concerned with economic development, so that the money that you get from selling some sort of item goes back to the person who made the item. There's no or very little middle people in between that take up a large cost. When you buy a similar item in a regular store, a lot of the money you pay goes to the people who brought it here, who imported it. And at the holiday market, the money goes back to the person who made it. So the craft items come from around the world, from organizations that are doing economic development. And this year we have a couple unique things. We're going to have House the Homeless Incorporated is going to have craft items made by homeless persons or previously homeless persons in Austin.
I see.
And we hope to have some artwork done by homeless people as well that we'll be selling. And those will fit into the strategy of the market in the sense that they'll be doing economic development with people right here in Austin.
Okay. Well, we'll come back and maybe even take a look at some of those items that you're going to be displaying and making available to the public. And I meant to ask, Frank, when you were talking about the interfaith component of this, I think one of the events that has been associated with AMM from the beginning is this annual Thanksgiving community service.
Right.
And the only Thanksgiving celebration that's ecumenical interfaith in town. Tell us just where and when that's going to be.
That's going to be on the 24th of November at the First Baptist Church in the afternoon at 2 o'clock. And it's a wonderful service in which we recognize many of the worship traditions that are involved in the diverse communities of faith that we have in Austin Metropolitan Ministries. And it's a very colorful service. There's a lot of wonderful music, and it's a great experience. So I encourage people to come to that. It's going to be a very fine service.
That happens to be your home church, I guess.
It is, as a matter of fact.
Right. And Kathy, I think it's also important to say that in addition to doing this volunteer work for the international markets, you're a pastor of a local congregation that...
I'm pastor of Austin Mennonite Church, and I think we're probably the smallest congregation associated with AMM, which is one of the reasons why we stay so involved, because AMM allows us to do all kinds of outreach and ministry that on our own we wouldn't be capable of doing, but we can work with other congregations to do incredible things, even though we're just a really tiny congregation.
Right. And you mentioned the work with the homeless. You've got some activity in that regard as well.
Yeah, I'm also executive director of the Texas Homeless Network, so it seems like a lot of the stuff I do kind of intersects and comes together in what I do with AMM.
Well, it sounds like you're busy enough.
Too busy, too often.
We're pleased to have you, Fred, as board member, treasurer of AMM. Tell us about your congregation and how you happen to become part of the organization.
Well, I belong to a very small Jewish congregation called Heart of Texas Havarah, which is fellowship. And I got involved. I was asked to be on the board of Austin Metropolitan Ministries. And my interest was basically to try to get I like the idea of all the different faiths, people of all the different faiths working together to help people in need in Austin. And that's what attracted me to Austin Metropolitan Ministries.
I see. And you have particular interest this year in terms of helping fund the work. Tell us about that.
I'm the treasurer of AMM, and I'm chairing an event we're going to have, which is Walking the Walk. And that's going to be November 16th at St. Edward's University track from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And what we're asking is that all of the 127 or 130 congregations that make up AMM, that each of them have a team there to participate in this team walk relay.
Now, there are lots of walks in Austin. I mean, there's the crop walk, which AMM also helps sponsor.
Every spring, yeah.
And but what's different about this particular one?
Well, what's different about this is that we're going to have the participation of try to have the participation of as many different congregations as possible. And the money is going to go directly to AMM and its local programs, because we're going to try to get stronger and better social service programs to the community to improve Interact, hands-on housing, Southeast Caregivers, the community mentoring program, to make it so that we can provide more services and help more people in Austin.
Okay, and you say it's a relay, 12 hours.
Right.
You're not expecting one person to walk 12 hours.
No,
Okay.
I'm expecting at least one member of the team to be on the track for the 12 hours.
Oh, really?
and the team members can split it up any way they want to. Several members don't have to walk. One member can do a lot of walking. One member can walk 3 or 4 times, however they want to do it.
Could Frank or Kathy be the 12-hour person, do you think? That...
Maybe Kathy, but I don't know about Frank.
I can talk for 12 hours, but maybe not walk.
I could do that too.
Okay, so, and the way people support it is they sponsor a walker, is that it? Basically,
what we need is, we have some congregations that don't yet have teams, and we need a member of that congregation to be a team leader, which is the person from that congregation which will get the 10 or 15 other members of the team to join. And then those team members get sponsors who make donations.
Okay. Now, I want to go back just for a moment, because what we have is, during AMM Awareness Week, there are 2 events that people can support the work that's going on. One is this international market. And I think we have something to show on that, that we'll look at here as an example that you can comment on, Kathy.
Yeah, this is a handcrafted mask from Indonesia, actually, that I took off my wall this morning, that I purchased a couple years ago at the holiday market. And it's handmade, and it's a beautiful piece with bright colors that are really, it's kind of typical of a lot of the handcrafted goods that we get at the holiday market from around the world. I brought another piece along, too.
Okay, and this is something we can see and hear.
Yeah, it makes a lot of noise. We have a lot of musical instruments at the holiday market from around the world. As a matter of fact, we're getting a growing number of musicians who look forward to seeing the holiday market because we have so many unique kind of musical instruments. This is a beaded gourd from Africa. It's used as a rhythmic instrument.
I see.
It's kind of another piece that I took from my house that I particularly like.
I see. But you don't use that to accompany yourself with Mennonite hymns?
Actually, we sing a lot of African hymns in the
really?
Mennonite church because we have such a strong mission program in Africa. And actually, that's where this is from. We use this in the congregational singing.
Well, you do. All right.
So surprises you. You didn't think Mennonites did things like that,
There
did
you go. All right. Now, let's have a little look-see at the Walking the Walk event that we've got some information on. That maybe we've got it right there. And that's just the posters that'll be around town.
At different congregations.
And that's on a Saturday, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
At St. Edward's. And it starts at what time again?
8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
All right.
12 hours.
That's the 12 hours. Now, during the break, we're going to be seeing a whole listing of other activities that AMM is involved in. Would you say, Frank, that it's fair to describe Austin Metropolitan Ministries as a kind of umbrella under which things can happen that wouldn't be happening otherwise?
That's right. What it does is enable the volunteer base which is present in these congregations to cooperate and work together, give strength to organizational efforts, to social service efforts, that otherwise an individual congregation, as Kathy mentioned, would not be able to do. And it's by acting together in the community that we hope we can make this a better community for families and children, and in the workplace, and in the ways, in every aspect, and also that we can have caring places of worship.
Okay. Well, we run this in the midst of our show each week, and as it scrolls through today, I'd encourage viewers to take a look at just how many activities are supported through Austin Metropolitan Ministries.
Serving Austin means serving you. That has always been the primary goal of Austin Metropolitan Ministries. We are religion in action through the work of these organizations. Each plays a key role in making the capital city a better place to live, but we can't do it alone. Do you have some spare time, talents, or any resources that you can share? If you do, please call AMM at 472-7627, because serving Austin means serving you.
Welcome back to Austin Faith Dialogue, where today we are focusing upon Austin Metropolitan Ministries at the beginning of AMM Awareness Week. Actually, I think this is going to be airing about a week before that week starts, so that we're getting a little advance on it. And I have, in the first half, Frank Cooksey, as president of the board, enjoyed your overall view, and Kathy Reed with the international market, and Fred Lewis helping in terms of the Walking the Walk fundraiser that's coming up. I must say, as one who has been involved through this broadcast ministry from the beginning of the organization, saying that this is one of the examples of where you can do things together that you can't do by yourself. That around the nation, the ecumenical broadcasts that are done in Chicago or San Francisco or Fort Worth have been done under the umbrella of a interfaith group that's not, connected to any sectarian interests per se. And I think this is a real service that AMM offers the community as a whole, because there's no axe to grind. We're not trying to evangelize or trying to convince somebody to become a Baptist or a Buddhist or whatever. But it is unique in this sense. And without this, the Austin community would lack a cooperation that we now have, which is just giving you my point of view from the standpoint of our Austin Faith Dialogue.
Right. I think that we really have had a valuable tool here to reach out to the community, and we appreciate the Fox Network and this station, KTBC, for giving us the time and the support to do that, because this is a very valuable outreach effort that we have here. We can communicate with many, many people in this way, and can't do that in our ordinary congregational life.
And one of the places that it interfaces with, I think, most effectively is with the city. The city of Austin has asked Austin Metropolitan Ministries. I mean, when you were mayor, I think that working relationship was already starting, wasn't it?
We had a relationship with this organization through the organizations that preceded it and were merged in 1989. At the present time, the City of Austin and Travis County asked us to serve on the Community Action Network, which is a organization. We're the only religious entity that serves on that organization, which basically is the planning organization for social services in all of Travis County.
Okay, so, now we had...
Fred serves on that.
Oh, you're on that as well?
Okay,
well, tell us a little bit about that part of it.
The Community Action Network? Basically, the private sector, the religious community, the city, and the county all get together on the Community Action Network to try to plan and evaluate the social services provided in the community, so that we don't have duplication, that we have the best programs we can have, that we encourage the programs to do a good job, and we get rid of the programs that don't.
Okay, well, let's focus then on the homeless side of this, because I think that we had Jackie Goodman from the City Council and Rose Lancaster from AMM Board that were saying we can do things in regard to the homeless condition together as a religious group and in cooperation with the city that we couldn't do otherwise. You're working in this regard,
well, more and more we're discovering that you can't do things in isolation, that you have to work with others. And CAN is a perfect example of, I think, the best of that kind of working relationship, because what it does is, instead of being competitive, all too often social services are competitive because they're applying for the same state dollars or federal dollars. They're competing in terms of sometimes the actual services they provide. And the growing trend in providing services to homeless people is to work together instead of working competitively.
Now, you say you're doing particularly the state networking.
Yeah, the organization that one of my part-time jobs is the Texas Homeless Network, and that's what we do, is we help communities develop homeless coalitions, which is, broad-based coalitions of city and county and private and faith communities,
Okay.
all of those different factors
Across
to bring them
Texas.
together in local communities, and then we try to provide the state structure for that even, so that all these coalitions in different areas, all these service providers can be linked together.
Okay, let's zero in on Austin and the coalition here.
Austin has a homeless coalition.
Okay.
And those folks meet, we meet regularly, and we can look at what other organizations are doing and see how we help each other, and see also, we talk a lot about continuum of care now, and that means, you know, to look at what the different needs are in the community and make sure all the needs of all the people are met, so that you prevent low-income families from becoming homeless.
Right.
As well as providing shelter for people who have chosen maybe homelessness as a way of life.
Okay, let's zero in even more, because here AMM plays a very special role.
Right.
I need to have some help on this, though.
Well, Rose Lancaster from our board serves on the local homeless coalition as our representative. We are extremely interested right now in the possibility of developing something in this community similar to what has been done in Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
Which is a very comprehensive facility which screens people, initially kind of decides who they are and what their needs are, channels them to the proper areas where they need help, and also has a physical facility that is adequate to serve those needs, which we do not have in Austin right now.
Okay, now what is AMM's role in this regard?
Well, I've already had a meeting. In fact, last year I had a meeting with the city manager and several of his assistants about getting a facility like that. And the city council, as a result, put aside about $500,000 in this year's budget toward that kind of a purpose. But we are not there yet. Just recently, a visit was made to Orlando, Florida by the city. Rose Lancaster went, the head of Hobo, Hunter Morris, went, and a bunch of people who represented the city of Austin itself went and looked at that facility in Orlando, Florida, to determine whether it's something that we could do in Austin. So we're in the initial stages of looking at what that issue is all about, beginning to plan, gathering resources, determining what the role of the religious community can be in that. And basically, the strength that we bring to that is a vast army of volunteers. So, you know, that is the kind of thinking that's going on right now.
Well, I wanted to dwell on that some, because it seems to me that's not only current, but that gets at the very heart of the kinds of social issues that we're all most concerned about.
That's right.
And I think there's another thing that should be brought to public's attention, and that is, if you happen to be sitting down there in the offices of AMM, which is housed at St. Austin's, near the Newman Center, near the St. Austin's Church, near the university, if you were in that office just for the day, the phone rings all of the time.
That's right.
And the answering services, or those information services provided through AMM, is one of the lesser known, but one of the more important aspects of this. That people call in about, you know, if they move to town and they want to find out how to get connected with the religious community or congregation. The fire department calls, wants to let it be known that they're doing something or other, that they want to get the word out to the congregations. I mean, can you bear witness to just how much information is given out through AMM?
Well, I think that it's an incredible amount of information, and the activity involved is just really amazing, particularly for the staff that we have. We just have an executive director, one secretary, and several VISTA volunteers. So we're an organization that is very lean, probably leaner than we should be, to be honest with you. And that's what Fred is trying to do in raising this money. We're trying to get some additional funding so that we can do a better job in this community.
I know Patrick Flood came from the Council of Churches work in Milwaukee back in '89. He's been the director all along.
Yes, former Catholic priest and just a wonderful man. He has devoted his life to this work for the last 5 years and has really done a marvelous job.
And I think we have to say something about his the administrative assistant there.
Carol Hatfield is a great person. She is just a backbone of strength to that organization.
So these are the two staff persons year-round.
Right.
And then you have these VISTA volunteers. That's a new development that
right.
came into play, what, just a year or so ago?
Yes, AMM sponsors a number of VISTA volunteers in the city of Austin. And it has VISTA volunteers working at AMM's offices and also at other places around town.
I know one of these is hands-on housing that had occasion to meet Jennifer Clark, who's doing that this year, and in October is having one of what are two events. It's not like Habitat for Humanity that builds a house from scratch, but identifies dwellings that are in need of repair, and then people from AMM come in.
Right, it renovates existing housing. Habitat for Humanity builds housing from scratch, a house. We go to places where housing needs to be upgraded for people who are living in low-income areas.
And I think that's what's really valuable to me is that not only do we provide a service for the people who need repairs to their house, but we also let members of the congregation and their families go and provide services for people. And it's very important to me that I be able to take my kids, Hannah and Alex, out with me to help provide something to other people in the community.
You've done that?
No, I'm doing it, though, on October 19th.
Okay. Well, we broadcast after that event, but we'll look forward to the spring event.
Sure.
I think in April, maybe.
I think, though, that's the wonderful thing about AMM is historically people of faith have spent more time focusing on their differences rather than in what they have in common. And the broader vision of what AMM is about is that we as people of faith have more in common than we do in differences.
Okay.
And so we can sit here and talk about our differences,
I think that's a wonderful
together.
way to summarize what we're really all about here. And in order to give folks an overall picture of this AMM Awareness Week, let's show on the monitor these events that we've been talking about, including the Walking the Walk and November the 16th in the International Market on the 22nd, 23rd, and the Thanksgiving Community Service on the 24th, which is an expression of that interfaith shared conviction. Thank you, Frank Cooksey, for being here. We'll look forward to seeing you at First Baptist Church on that day.
Great.
Kathy Reed for being with us and helping us appreciate the market, and Fred for your work and support of the group in many ways. And you folks are welcome to tune in again next week to our next edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. I'm Richard Thompson, bidding you peace and good day.
For more information, call Austin Metropolitan Ministries at 472-76